One heck of a Protoss player as we're finally into our upper bracket, best of 5. In the top left, he is the red Protoss, MaxPax.
And the bottom right in the blue, one of the best TVPs in Europe, at least for the first 8 minutes. For Mouse, it's HeRoMaRinE.
One of the longest running team player combinations. Pretty cool mouse. Pretty cool.
Certainly.
So, TVP. Finally getting some TVP action after a couple of mirror matchups. Well, there's PvZ in there, but you know what I mean. And I've always liked this matchup. I still like this matchup, but we have had people say it's kind of difficult for the Protoss side. Well, MaxPax always seems to be proving that wrong. As dastardly PVT builds. His 4-gate still pretty lethal, even though he doesn't bring it out as often, I would say. And between these two, what is their most recent history? As you know, HeRoMaRinE was a gatekeeper, as he has also said for the longest time, but hasn't really been that so much as of late. And I'd actually say that MaxPax is more likely to be keeping HeRoMaRinE from advancing. Other way around. And looking at their history, yep, very much MaxPax sided in the last 7 months, with only 1 victory for HeRoMaRinE in the 7 months. So feeling pretty good for the Protoss here.
That's kind of funny. You look at MaxPax's win rate as he's just, again, trying to delay this. Anytime you can delay the orbital or delay the command center going down, that does give room for an adept to run across the map and maybe delay it a little bit longer if that's what you want to go for. This guy's actually going to run out with a Zealot pretty quickly. But when you look at MaxPax in general, he's like, okay, 76% win rate PVT in the last month. I don't know what that is if you take all the Clem games out, but that's got to be 85 plus. It's really funny. We talked about this at the start of this series about how, well, MaxPax might make a deep run. We might have a Protoss champion in Europe. We'll see. But Clem is there, and Clem has kind of owned MaxPax recently. Clem has played MaxPax a ton recently. So it's a tale of 2 stories. MaxPax against Clem, 40-60, 50-50, maybe a little bit worse, but certainly someone that not an easy matchup at all. Against every other Terran player in Europe. You're right, Zombie Grub. This is one that is extremely MaxPax favorite, but I love what HeRoMaRinE is going for in this game number 1. This is a very quick 3rd command center, even before the natural is done. I guess he just saw what Harston was doing against Showtime in that last series. Like, that's a good idea. Let me do that.
I mean, maybe, yeah. But probably already planned out his strategies when he knew that he was facing MaxPax. So it would be yesterday, I guess. So not too much time, but some time. Adept and Zealot taken care of with minimal damage and delay in the command center is a really nice start. That bunker finishing was quite beautiful. The Reaper finding the Zealot a little ahead of time was also really important. SCV will finally die, but I'd say overall good handling. Because really a lot of the importance here, it's easier for pro gamers, but it is still a factor, is not letting this screw you up in any way. So either by actually losing the SCV over and over again at the command center, or by like misrouting the second SCV to build it, right? And then suddenly you've lost 10 seconds unnecessarily. And so far, so good. He also has stopped MaxPax from getting anywhere close to getting a Scouts. Not that an Adept ever should get into that main base, but it's always possible. Not going to happen this game. And so his 3CC build has remained undetected. Eventually, MaxPax will start checking off the lists, saying, okay, well, there's no Widowmine drop. So what else could it be? Okay, there's like no tank push in the middle of the map. So what else could it be? And I guess with his incoming 3 gates, which he has been far more preferential to in the last 6 months or however long it's been, he will eventually scout it. But then that is, again, the trick to getting fast greed, much like what Harston was doing. The faster you get it, hopefully the faster you can get the defenses up for it. You can also get the reward from having those triple mules and triple SCVs, and you can hold against any form of aggression. So I actually think this is like a really strong build against MaxPax a lot of the time, unless the execution on the defense of his Stalkers goes awry. So assuming that doesn't happen, HeRoMaRinE gonna get away with the 3rd CC here.
And if you look at this happen as well, generally a 3rd CC play, you'll see like Gun do it, right? It's going to be 3 CC, 3 racks, stim timing, and that's kind of how it goes. You get a lot of bio out very quickly off of this. And it is interesting to see HeRoMaRinE taking more of a 2-1-1 setup, having more tech, and I actually kind of like it, right? Skipping instead of the 3rd barracks, going for a factory, getting those tanks up. When you know that MaxPax is, I don't know that he's the best Blink Stalker player in the world, certainly the best Blink Stalker player in Europe. He gets so much done with this build that no one else is able to make anything happen. And for now, Supply Depot is going to be the first course, but Zombie Grub, it never stops here, ever.
No, MaxPax is very good at finding damage. This is going to be the first time that he's seen that it is 3cc, or confirmed that it is anyway, and he's going to be taking that into account as he does, you know, things that he already planned on doing. There's not much modification you can do once you scout it at this time, but there might be more of a sense of urgency, perhaps, to doing more SCV damage with the War Prism, which is going to save these Stalkers. Nicely done. And then you know, if this doesn't win the game, which clearly won't, it's a 3-gate, you know, it wasn't really supposed to win the game. MaxPax's next worry is when HeRoMaRinE is ready to push. So it's going to be with the Medivac stem and combat shield. It's a ways off, right? But that is a real worry. Getting maximum damage with the harassment, great, but then also making sure your macro is really on point to prepare for that inevitable push. That is the, I think, really scary thing about this.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this as well, when we look at what HeRoMaRiNE's doing, he's now on 3 racks, so he can build a lot of bio. Stim is done, but it's a ways away until we start to see Medivacs on the field, so every Stim hurts a lot. No combat shields as well. HeRoMaRiNE does have that power to his bio, certainly, but it's, again, this is power he's not really going to want to spend. One Adept in the mineral line. Okay, he's just going for a scout. I was going to say, oh man, you could do something really cool to eat up, drag a couple friendly fire shots, and maybe kill up a couple SCVs that way. Behind this MaxPax, we talk about what he's going to do. Is he going to be able to handle this aggression coming from HeRoMaRiNE in like the 7-minute, 7:30 window? Well, he's not really going to a quick RoboBay all that quickly. It's going to be charged very quickly, which is really nice. It's just against a bunch of Marines. You can get on top of things. And you talk, you know, Zombie Grove, the other thing that's really nice about a bunch of Marines, certainly before Blink is done to deal with any sort of pressure from HeRoMaRiNE, just kill them before they're ready. A lot of Marines have died this game.
Yes, they have. Stalkers have been pretty consistently poking at them. And the charge lot's coming in so fast. I mean, as you can see, they're not for the inevitable defense. They're actually to try and continue the attack, take the tanks out of the equation almost, and hope that the bio isn't big enough to take care of the rest. One tank is taken down. Second one is helpful, though, and now we have, you know, all the upgrades done. We have the Medivacs here, and a pure gateway army isn't really supposed to beat that as long as the numbers are relatively even. And they are, so MaxPax, you know, maybe was thinking about it because the bio is kind of injured and is maybe kind of a small number and is not going to go for it. He's setting up that run by that we all know is going to happen. HeRoMaRiNE included. No, that's going to happen, so he sends a pack of units off to chase that down. He saw it as well, but it's also just what MaxPax does. And then the War Prism, the natural, is also not unexpected. So there's only so many places you can move your army and hope to find all of the attacks of MaxPax. As it is, I think that HeRoMaRiNE has done a pretty good job, but then this was really nice. MaxPax going into the third with the Stalkers also finds the returning anti-Zealot run-by force. And this is just MaxPax showing off how annoying a Protoss can be in the best way possible. This is exactly what you should be doing. It's just HeRoMaRiNE is trying so hard not to let this get to him by building these missile turrets, by making sure that he's got his army in the right places. And it still is getting little bits of damage done. Not catastrophic, not snowballing, but God, is it annoying.
I have two minds about this, because on the one hand, I'm saying, wow, we are in the round 4 of the upper bracket of the ESL Masters Europe, and look at what MaxPax is doing to HeRoMaRiNE. On the other side of it, HeRoMaRiNE is actually handling this fairly well. He's taking damage here or there, certainly, but he's starting to develop that army a little bit more. He's going to have his Ghost Academy done. He's going double Starport Vikings because he knows MaxPax has this Colossus on the way. And yes, what MaxPax is doing is incredibly annoying. Still, though, the Terran can build this army at about 175 supply at this point because, again, it's 3cc. You don't expect to really hit that massive timing in the same way that you would on a 2cc play. But the Terran can still hit this timing where it doesn't matter that MaxPax has done all this damage. The army is still better for the Terran at that point. So I like what MaxPax is doing. You keep your Terran player back home. You make sure you know what they're doing. You make sure you know where they are. And so you never really give them that one straight to back, big concave, EMP, Vikings on top of everything fight that just make life very hard for the Protoss player.
I really do think this is what MaxPax is best at. Never letting the Terran player get their just desserts, actually. Because I think from the Terran perspective, there is a sort of justice that is defending a 3-gate aggression, or of course a 4-gate if that were the case. And then saying, well, I win now, right? Like, I defended it with real greed, so let me go kill you. And then, particularly, MaxPax is really good at being like, well, maybe later, maybe later, maybe later, maybe later, and then he's actually killing you at that point. So I think that is really important, is for the Terran to keep, like, a calm head, despite all of these little mess-up beats on the beats, right? And HeRoMaRiNE's pretty good at it. He is doing exactly what he should. Rampaging forward with the superior army, chasing down one of the Colossus right off the bats, and now with the EMP still in tow too, heading towards that third base. Disruptors are on the way, but only just started. Not going to be ready here for this particular push. Maybe in the future. Third Colossus does regroup, I suppose. He had a fourth one on the way, but now that fourth Nexus is going to be in a little bit of trouble too.
Yeah, MaxPax just buying time at this point. +2 done in 10 seconds. +1 armor done pretty shortly after that. DTs get warped in defensively here just to make sure he doesn't really take too much damage on that fourth base. Fifth base on the way. Everything. MaxPax has this incredible timing in like a minute. He's gonna max out. His economy's gonna be really good. He's got these zealots getting ready to maybe be a surround, get on top of things. Knock down reinforcements as the disruptor shot doesn't really land. But there's no anti-air. These Vikings are knocking down pretty much all of the Colossus. Their stalkers are there now, certainly. But they've zoned out the majority of this army for MaxPax, so it feels like this third base should go down. Zealots coming in from every side though. They don't even charge. They just get on top of things. MaxPax, this feels like this should be an incredible fight, and it is. Those disruptors go very nicely. So despite everything, that felt really good for HeRoMaRinE. And MaxPax, he pulls his rabbit out of the hat. He says, look, you thought this rabbit was cut in two. Nah, it's the whole game. We're fine.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that's what happens in magic tricks. But yeah, no, you're right. This is another really annoying thing about facing MaxPax, that you feel like you finally did get your army across the map, and you do have them on the ropes, and you're liking what your army is doing because you maybe have the upgrades, you have the EMPs, you have the tanks sieged up, and you're even chasing down so many of what we would say are the most important units, right? The Colossus had barely any action in any of those fights. Most of the time they were just retreating and dying. But it was for kind of the greater good. More charge was being produced, more angles were being set up for MaxPax, and the tanks are then, you know, kind of default taken out of the equation when those charge outs set up like that. Okay, great. But the surround on the bio army, I mean, that is the real kick in the nuts there for HeRoMaRinE, who is forced to retreat at that point, or, you know, try and pick up, and he can't really do that either. And now MaxPax on 5 bases with the army of now mostly disruptors, but two Colossus alive, is now knocking on HeRoMaRinE's front door. This looks like a great position for MaxPax. Up 30 workers, up 10 army supply, but a planetary is going to help HeRoMaRinE hold here.
Yeah, and I don't hate him taking this fight. On the one hand, so this is double Starport Viking. The Colossus are not nearly as strong, and most importantly, he's taking this fight. That's a decent shot right there from the disruptors. He's taking this fight to allow the Zealots to get into the natural, to get into the third base, where, yeah, HeRoMaRinE's defending his fourth just fine. Zombie Grub, the supplies are in such a problem right now where there is not enough HeRoMaRinE to defend every angle. So yeah, disruptors, Vikings, there's stuff on the fourth base. Again, the third base, all the SCVs are dead from it. These disruptors, even if they fall down, MaxPax has so much money. For the last 5 minutes, he's been up like 1,000 minerals a minute, where even if this fight doesn't go well for MaxPax, the reinforcing ability that our Protoss player has just so far outstrips the Terran that it becomes very hard for HeRoMaRinE to have any option, really, even with Liberators on the map.
Yeah. Kudos to HeRoMaRinE for keeping a level head, or at least presenting the image of level head. I don't know what he's actually thinking. But this game is absolutely a game that we see against MaxPax all the time from Terran players. Occasionally we will see 3CC that is kind of supposed to, you know, it's supposed to survive against his aggression, and then it's supposed to do pretty well afterward, and then it just fails, you know? This happens so often with all different types of builds. People try and out-strategize the opener that MaxPax is most likely to go for, which is a Blink Stalker attack, and then we'll never get the point of execution. MaxPax is so good about disrupting the execution point from the Terran, and then just doing everything else that really annoys them, like DT run-bys and disruptors and stuff like that. And so eventually you even start to see a little bit of a tilt. Even if the game is completely even, you start to see the Terran player really get frustrated. And I mean, at the very least, HeRoMaRinE didn't look like he was getting frustrated, but he looked like he was losing, because he absolutely was, and that's not much better. So, you know, the best thing you can take from a first game is like, well, great, you weren't totally tilted. You didn't just immediately GG as soon as something went wrong for you. That's not the best start to a best of 5, but at least it is something.
Yeah, and you know, I think the other thing about this, and part of it probably is Oceanborn, which is a, you know, bigger map, maybe a little bit more macro of a map, but HeRoMaRinE didn't play like HeRoMaRinE in game 1. And I'm not saying, well, MaxPax played really well and HeRoMaRinE wasn't able to play his game. I'm saying HeRoMaRinE went 3CC as an opener. He didn't play a build that gets him that 6 to 8 minute HeRoMaRinE push, that big Gabe push that we are so used to seeing him do. That's why, maybe not as much now because Clem is that good. But, you know, for a while, he was the best TVP player, maybe even in the world, before like 8 to 9 minutes. Those pushes, those timings, the 1.5 base thing, whatever he decides to go for, are well thought out, well timed. It's a good system, and he's practiced it so much that even if you know what's coming, it's very hard to stop. So I like the idea from HeRoMaRinE to go and play maybe against your idea about how HeRoMaRinE plays in this matchup. Unfortunately for him, by doing that, he's just kind of playing right into MaxPax's wheelhouse.
I don't know if I necessarily agree about that, the way that HeRoMaRinE is known for playing. I know that HeRoMaRinE, I do agree that he was the best TVPer in a while in Europe, because I also think that coincided with the Raven interference matrix era. So he was very good at perfecting the build order that then hit with the first Terran push with the Raven interference matrix. No doubt about that. But a lot of Terrans were. What actually stuck out to me for HeRoMaRinE compared to the other Terrans was his really powerful 3 base attacks with 2-2. That's actually what comes to mind for me. And so I was actually kind of hopeful for that game, but he didn't really get to that point either. There was more of an attack beforehand. It didn't work out, but we can talk more about that after the intros. In the top right of Crimson Court, we do have MaxPax.
The bottom right, down 1 in the blue on a bit shorter of a map last time. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. It's HeRoMaRinE.
But certainly, I do think highly of HeRoMaRinE's macro game / particularly 2-2 attack. I think we saw a lot of sledgehammer HeRoMaRinE if the interference matrix open it and work out, or it got nerfed, either one. Then he would still have this really powerful build-up on 3 bases to hit like a hammer with the 2-2, the Ghost, the Vikings, and maybe a couple of tanks if they survived. So that sticks out to me, but no matter what you're best at or what Terran timings you're trying to hit, MaxPax is just stupid good at interrupting them. Even if you've done a better job than previously at defending the harassment, for instance. So as you're prepping and playing and learning against MaxPax, you're like, okay, this is a Warp Prism, the Zealots, and you start taking into that account, and you still lose. Because that's exactly what happened. HeRoMaRinE literally, he showed how much he plays versus MaxPax. He had the Warp Prism anti-missile turret, in place. He had his army over to the left side, and yet MaxPax still found avenues to take advantage of that. It's like, well, I know what you're onto, and then MaxPax is the guy that's saying, well, I know that you know that I know. That and whatever roundabout way you want to do it. And he's just so good at disrupting whenever a Terran player thinks that they have got the time, they've got the strategy, they've got the execution. He's just slapped in the face and says, no, you don't.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. You talk about this. Okay, so he can disrupt the early game, but MaxPax also, and it may or may not matter in this game, we're going to have to see is again. Well, no, never mind. This is the second command center. Barracks, double gas factory, then that command center. More aggressive option coming out of HeRoMaRinE. But MaxPax, you talk about his strong aggression, his ability to disrupt the early game and the mid game for the Terran player. If MaxPax gets behind, and I'm not saying he will in this series, we're going to have to see, but he's also incredibly good at finding the avenue to get back into a game in a way that we really don't often see, certainly in this TVP matchup, that a lot of people are saying, hey, this is really hard for Protoss. This is a really bad matchup for Protoss, and I think the changes in the recent balance match have actually equalized things quite a bit, but we're still seeing things evolve. But this, again, we talked about, you say you think of HeRoMaRinE as this plus this 2-2-3 base timing. When I think of HeRoMaRinE, I think of what we're seeing right here. Cyclones and Medevacs and Liberators, this like 1.5 base timing that hits before Blink, or on the odd world where this is a charge or something else. But this hits before the real tech of the Protoss. This Reaper should go down. Maybe is there high ground nearby? No, Reaper definitely dead. But again, this is what I think of for HeRoMaRinE. 1.5 base shoving in before the Protoss really is set up on the tech they want to be set up on.
Well, I definitely think that HeRoMaRinE has just become a well-rounded player. Like, he just does everything, and he will experiment with whatever is happening, and he will show off his skills that aren't just macro. Because at the end of the day, I think HeRoMaRinE stands a macro player, but then sometimes he gets to show as good of micro and aggression as we would expect of Clem. So let's see if that is the case here, right? With his early aggression, does he do some seriously sick Cyclone micro, and then Roddy presses the soundboard and everyone laughs, Like, is it going to happen? Or is HeRoMaRinE going to be a little bit worse at that? And then MaxPax holds on, no problem. So far, maybe a little bit worse at that. Oh, nice pickup on the Widowmine. Certainly not going to find a way into the natural. MaxPax does hold. He does have a total of 4 gateways this game, by the way, guys. So he's going to dedicate more to the aggression for HeRoMaRinE this time.
It's funny. I really like these Widowmine 6 Marine drops. This Widowmine is fortunately dead. I really like that because you put it into the main base and suddenly you just can't split a probe when the Widowmine gets that's like, okay, fine. You split one probe off, the 6 Marines kill it off, and it's like, great, this is not going to work out for you all that well. It has a lot more staying power, but attacking through the front like that, when the Protoss kind of has a wall, it's hard to dive on top of, the Stalkers are there in position because that's just where they want to be at the game state. I don't know that I like that angle that HeRoMaRinE decided to take, and now, well, because he did commit to this a little bit earlier, he's got 1 or 2 tanks on the map, excuse me. Stim is decades off, furlongs off, distances of length and time that represent a large amount. And this 4-gauge Blink Stalker, it's going to be a long time before HeRoMaRinE can dislodge this, if he even can.
A little mistake there from MaxPax. We expect big things from him, so we get really nitpicky about his 4-gauge, but he did lose that Stalker. His Warp Prism just seconds shy of saving it. But it really does get ramped up, you know? Even when you think that he's going to back away because maybe he stopped producing Stalkers and he's producing a Robotics Bay, sometimes the Stalkers do still win the game. Liberator going to deny a ton of mining. There's some good news. Tank will go down, Bunker will go down, and the little Sim City that HeRoMaRinE set up to stop the Blink Stalkers from running away doesn't work as well if the Warp Prism is there to help that secondary Blink kind of situation. Some Stalkers certainly sacrificed for that, though. 6 in total have gone down for a tank and 8 SCVs. However, the Liberator is still also doing some damage. You also have to add in some lost mining. And another lost Stalker, actually. MaxPax. Pay attention to his army movements. I mean, I actually think that HeRoMaRiNE's doing a pretty good job here defending against this. Great save on that 3rd tank. And the 2nd one was helping out on the low ground as well. Warp Prism Micro. It's going to be impressive. It's going to be fine and dandy. But it actually isn't going to find much more. Clearly, the 4-gate is over. HeRoMaRiNE's defense works out. And we do have a weird situation now where MaxPax is only ahead by 5 workers. That does not cover 2 mules. And so there is a very good chance that HeRoMaRiNE can do something in this game. But every time we think that, MaxPax does something to throw a wrench into things.
Yeah, but look at this as well. HeRoMaRiNE, you talk about, can he do something in this game? Stim's just about done. That's nice. And it actually is very exposed. Unfortunately, MaxPax loses a bunch of Stalkers. If the Blink stays alive, which MaxPax is going to try to target this down, and he gets those upgrades, this is a 5 racks all in coming out of HeRoMaRiNE. There's no 3rd base on the way. This is a lot of commitment on a very short map. And luckily for HeRoMaRiNE, well played, I guess, for HeRoMaRiNE, he's got the tank in position. SCVs are pulled. The Stim will complete. Combat shields should complete. And yeah, supplies are within 20 right now. That's kind of within the bounds of maybe where we expect army supplies to be. This is going to explode for HeRoMaRiNE. He's going to have so much bio running across the map. And as you said, MaxPax, he hasn't really got enough done to justify the 4-gate. So all in off of a failed pressure. Well, okay, well that doesn't really help HeRoMaRiNE.
Yeah, and MaxPax is really good at finding that. I'm annoyed on behalf of the Terran. I'm really showing my bias here.
Save us from these bias casters. What is that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's not even that I'm really truly biased for the Terran. It's actually just. It is the opposite. I am oftentimes so much in awe with how MaxPax controls this matchup when you compare it to so many other PVTs of so many other great Protosses. But they're already not playing this style as often, so that's already a big difference. But then when they do play this style, there's no way they would ever recover from a deficit, like a failed quote-unquote 4-gate. MaxPax does often, but this is a tough game for him as well, no doubt about it. Loses even more Stalkers. That's 16 Stalkers lost in this entire game. Yes, they've traded a little bit, but that is a huge chunk of change. Recall is going to be enough, but even that's a little awkward. No ability to kill the Medivacs, and the front line is more important. MaxPax's 3rd base getting hammered at this point.
That it is, with the Immortal going down as well. There really is no... What do we have? Yeah, nothing. There's one Colossus out. There is no solution to these tanks. There's really no solution to these Marauders. You say the drop is handled? Kinda. But he's still got a lot of Zealots. 15 probes are going down as well, and this 3rd base is dead. Remember, just to be clear, this isn't all in from HeRoMaRiNE. He's only on 2 bases. This is 5 racks production. He got the 3rd base. It's a great start. But this is something that eventually does time out. Now Stalkers are going to try to get on top of these tanks. But 4 tanks here. Zealots on top of them as well. Colossus certainly cannot fight, but now the Zealots with their +1. All the tanks are going to go down, so HeRoMaRiNE gets the 3rd base. He gets a ton of probe zombie grub, and he still maintains that supply lead. But it's not like, again, it's not like there's macroing out of this.
Yeah, Terrans can always try and lift, but you're right. That is very much a last resort. Turns into a lot of awkwardness defending a orbital when you're all-inning against the Zealot run-bys and whatnot. So, yeah, it's still right to call it an all-in. But I feel like it might have worked. It's just every time I start to feel good for the Terran, the Protoss just bring themselves back in. And that was the best handling possible from a Protoss on that third base defense, if you will. The third base obviously had gone down, but didn't recall the Warp Prism, and that's kind of sucky. I assume he just didn't have energy? No, he actually did, so he just thought that it'd be safer than it was. That is very unfortunate, but to give the kudos before I go into the criticism, the defense against those tanks was really nice. Saves the Colossus, spreads out his Stalkers, sends them away once the bio clearly isn't a threat anymore. I mean, you can't ask for much more in that situation. It's just the situation was already pretty bad. And so HeRoMaRinE calmly building up his army. Now, once again, ahead by 40 army supply with Vikings, tear down the Colossus. What else does MaxPax have here?
Ooh, that's actually really nice. A bunch of Marines on the right side, I guess, going for a run by to try to distract MaxPax. Well, Zealots find that one. And it's only 4 Vikings on the map. Force fields are going to be okay. MaxPax just cancel the third base. I'd really like to see him just go mine out the gold and go down bottom side. So this Zealot run by, there's a tank here. It's not seized. Marauders don't fight Zealots all that well. I really like this run by out of MaxPax. Making it really hard. Now gonna get on top of the tanks as well. 2 of them will go down, targeting the third one. One Colossus will fall, but as the Vikings try to... Oh, he doesn't get it. Never mind. But as the Vikings try to chase this, there's a shield battery here. Should keep that alive. The Vikings should die. It's something, but man, you gotta get those tanks.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. One more slice of a Zealot. That was going to die anyway, right? He could have just stayed around. Very unfortunate indeed, but probably not what's going to be the reason that MaxPax ends this game. He's been on the ropes since his 4-gate didn't do as much damage as he was hoping. But good decision there from HeRoMaRinE to go for the 5 racks as well. I was even kind of thinking there'd be a couple of SCV pulled. Didn't even need it. So MaxPax will be, I would say, appropriately punished for the way things went. He did not manage to weasel his way out of losing after that, which he so often does. But I think a very powerful way of making sure he doesn't is absolutely the 5 racks. So we're going to have a tied up series 1-1.
There we go. And, Zombie Grab, we're moving on to what is probably the oddest map in the pool. I don't know if it is, but we move on to Dynasty. Certainly the least popular map in the pool right now. You got that gold base that it does feel like it's a little bit easier for Terran players to hold on to than it is to Protoss. You kind of put a tank there and you put some bio, and it's hard for medium numbers of Blink Stalkers to make that happen. Although even as I say that, Zombie Grub, I'm a big Firefly fan. We've been over this. I am irrationally a fan of Firefly, but importantly, it's bearing through. Today, he 3-0'd Clem in the WTL, and importantly, Dynasty was their first map. He was able to make something happen, gets on top, kills off a lot of SCVs, denies the gold base. So it's not impossible for Protoss players to make that happen, but it does feel like something where it is a little bit easier for a Terran player to do what they want to do on the map.
Okay, all right. See what you're tying in here.
Got to bring up Firefly whenever I can, honor bound.
Yeah. I wish I had such an obsession. I wish I looked at someone the way you look at Firefly, but Jaedong doesn't play StarCraft 2 anymore, so.
My girlfriend is a little jealous of Firefly at this point, actually.
She should be. You never said that she was going to win a championship.
I never said Firefly was going to win Katowice. I said he was going to hit top 2. It's a different story, Zombie Grub.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, of course.
I didn't believe it anyway.
Anyway, but yeah, so maybe this is good news. HeRoMaRinE gets the second game, might be able to propel that with a little bit of map favor in here, but what a map. What a map. Anyway, who are we saying on first?
There we go. In the upper right.
There we go.
He won game number 1, fell down in the second, and now it's a weird map. Let's see what he can do. It's MaxPax.
And in the bottom left, we do have Team Mouse's HeRoMaRinE. So, Firefly, what did he do on Dynasty?
He did what Firefly does, right? Lots of gateway units, not a lot of robotech. He was able to get stalkers into the natural, I think, and get a little bit of damage done there. And then once that damage happened, you force feed Clem Zealots until he dies.
Gotcha.
Firefly has one story, and he has different ways of getting there. But at the end of the day, it is one book. He does not have a library, Zombie Grub. It is Zealots and Zealots. And would you like some more Zealots, please?
That's true. Yeah, I guess I could have just guessed that. But Unfortunately, that style, it feels like really good at times, and heck, it's even been meta, very much so. The Protoss, all of them doing very similar things, but it can feel good, but it doesn't have, I would say, a lot of success overall. It's something we want to depend on, and it's not something that MaxPax necessarily does, right? He absolutely goes into Stalkers as he takes a gold base here, and he absolutely goes into Charge after that, but then we do see him still move on to Colossus or onto Disruptors. Maybe a Storm game every now and again, I don't recall, but both taking the gold bases, and so we have interesting game, but yeah, I was trying to say that we probably won't see the same type of max zealots, very low gas from MaxPax, but I don't know. It's very interesting because they both take the gold bases, but one of them takes on the other side with the rich Vespian Geyser.
Yeah,
so here we're gonna immediately scout that.
Here's the question, right, Zombie Grub, as we take a look at this. I really like this as the Protoss player, because if you're on the safe side of the mineral wall, you just get sieged up and it becomes a problem. But I was gonna ask, is this get followed up by a Stargate? Because with the bonus gas you get, you can go Phoenix. It allows you to go and kind of defend things a little bit, maybe a little bit earlier defense. And also, if, say, for the sake of example, HeRoMaRinE decides to go a bunch of Hellions, you can handle that fairly nicely. Unfortunately, the Stargate was down by the time that happened, so MaxPax is going to be going Stargate off of this and gives him counter harass on HeRoMaRiNE's side of the map. It allows him to go and maybe defend his side of the map a little bit more, and if you get 4 gas for the price of 3, assuming, again, that he does take that rich gas eventually, well, that's a lot of Phoenix.
Yeah. Nice adept harassment, so the gold can't mine anyway. But you're talking about those Hellions, and we do have them. And even with the shield battery, those are some awfully stacked up probes.
Yeah.
And what's worse is that the Cyclone follow-up is still pretty powerful. I mean, we don't see nearly, I guess, as many just game overs, I suppose, but it still does happen with the Cyclone opener versus the Stargate. It can feel very, very knife's edge of actually defending. I guess HeRoMaRinE was going to try and pull one over on MaxPax. You would expect them to go to the gold base where all the probes are stacked up, right? But actually wanted to go to the main. Unfortunately, that will not work out. The Oracle timing is absolutely perfect, plus the Stalker found it as well. And that might have been better off trying to actually go after the gold base probes. At least would have gotten one shot off, I think, before the Oracle and Stalker would have caught up to the Hellions.
Now, 4 Hellions was the magic number, right? You get a shield battery, you get burst through or actually 3 Hellions is the magic number to go burst through a bunch of probes, even with shield battery or anything like that. But HeRoMaRinE goes 2, which is map control, certainly. Scouting, absolutely. You can deal with the depths on the map, sure, fine. But he doesn't commit to 4. He gets double Cyclone, I guess, on this idea that, well, if MaxPax is going to take this gold, it's probably going to be a Stargate follow-up. And now we go into the mid game, right? 3 racks, 3-1-1 type of setup. No one's really done a ton of damage to the other. MaxPax, he's got a ton of gas available, adding in gateways. And I really did expect this to go something like Phoenix Colossus. But instead, this is going to be a style that was very popular 2 years ago going to Katowice, until Ryung made it very sad and ruined a lot of Protoss players' day. But this is, you open Stargate, yeah. But then you go into Stalkers behind it, and the Oracle gives you map control, gives you the ability to blink into the main base, gives you that vision, stasis traps, all of these nice things. Now, Zombie Grub, the only problem with that is Dynasty doesn't have a lot of good blinking positions as such. You actually can't even get into the main base, right? You have to go through we call that the natural? The gold base area.
Yeah. It is naturally appealing in the way that HeRoMaRinE took it anyway. MaxPax took the more dangerous one, but tanks definitely going to be necessary to stop this from being non-stop harassment. But then you do want to be careful. Even if it wasn't Oracle, any type of blink action is going to be later and less impactful. It's going to be careful on the side of HeRoMaRinE not to let any freebies go, just because it wasn't a 3 or 4 gate right off the bat. And he is. And you're right. Besides that particular place, otherwise maybe the pure Blink Stalker action wouldn't be so powerful. That's maybe why MaxPax isn't bothering to do that, Making sure to get that map control, making sure to be able to use Blink Stalkers, which he's so damn good at. But eyes on the future, as he does have his 3 bases up in what you could also call the natural, I guess, of MaxPax. Working on that Robo now in Robotics Bay to come, presumably. There it is.
Yeah, and I'm looking at MaxPax space, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's gonna go take the north side. Like, surely that's where he expands his third. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, he's already taken it. It just looks so. I love the play. It's really smart, but it also looks really weird. But I like what again, we talk about MaxPax's ability to ruin Terran players' day and to mess with their timings. He's just is he gonna go and break this natural of HeRoMaRinE? No, he's not. Right, there's a tank there. It's really hard to get through. There's bio. He's not gonna get up in the natural, not with 2 tanks. But what he can do is just poke away, get a couple SCVs, drop stasis traps outside of the obvious egress point from the main base, the natural area, when HeRoMaRinE wants to run across. And anything he can do to slow things down, because remember, he also is benefiting from a gold base. He's benefiting it from just a little bit faster. Anything he can do to slow this Terran player down is beautiful for him. Although that stasis trap, he gets 3 Marines in a Cyclone. It does force HeRoMaRinE to not go punish, but that's not the, wow, he just got every single Marine that MaxPax was maybe hoping for.
Once again, HeRoMaRinE going for the 5 racks immediately. This is something that the Oracles are unable to scout, and that move out kind of looks like it was intentions for third base, right? Looks like it's guarding the other natural, if you will. But I think MaxPax has already picked up on what is being put down here. I really like the Dark Shrine addition to anything that's going to be considered more dedicated aggression from a Terran player who also is no doubt going to be harassed by Zealots, which then means no mule or you don't want to slap down mules. There we go. So no scans for the DT, so on and so forth. 1 DT at a time. Also very annoying to deal with. Blah, blah, blah. I like that idea, basically. I feel like MaxPax is setting up for something like this. He gets the confirmation on the size of the army. Proxy Gateway goes down. That's kind of a bummer, but the War Prism lives. That's more important. And the Stalkers are tailing this. So every couple of Marines, every couple of SCVs really matters a lot, especially if it buys time. Really think MaxPax is been set up for this for a while even. He might have even just guessed this was going to be the case from the get-go. And these supplies really look quite good for the Protoss right now, but it is a lot of workers that are affecting them.
Yeah, SCVs have been pulled into this as well, so you got a little bit more chef. Man, these force fields are so good for MaxPax. Stalker's trying to get on the backside as well. Only 1 tank is sieged up, so they're going to just shoot these down. HeRoMaRinE tries to save them. Not really going to work out. And all of us, I mean, this is... MaxPax, actually, you know, all of a sudden, the supplies starting to... Army supplies getting a little bit worse. I love this move from HeRoMaRinE, though. Intentionally mining out one of the mineral patches just to make sure he can attack from a different angle. MaxPax did see it out, and again, Zealots are going to try to get on top of his army. Tanks are getting some decent shots on the Colossus for now. One gets very low, will not go down. The Concave, though, all of a sudden for HeRoMaRinE, looking really nice, but it's not enough. Everything's dead anyways. MaxPax goes up 2 games to 1.
He just dissected that, you know? I know there's always some potential for the Terran push there, but I really felt like from the beginning, MaxPax was prepared. His engagements were always well thought out. Sometimes he can make micro mistakes like everyone else, but no, like that was almost textbook, as if he had known that that was going to be on the way and he had all the time in the world to prepare for it. So no, no problem, you know, absolutely zero problem. MaxPax making that look easy. I assure you that it is not. But this also now throws a question in for HeRoMaRinE, which is, okay, does the 2 base actually work out? Didn't last game. Not at all. Looked quite poor even. But, you know, if he does 4-gate me again, and I do get that immediate counter attack powered up by the 5 racks, then I could be good. And MaxPax could absolutely do that. MaxPax could choose the last map to once again go for a 4-gate. But you just don't know. You don't know until it happens, right? And so does HeRoMaRinE go for the 2 base attack no matter what? Does he add on a 3rd CC? Does it do a little more of that normal pacing of PvT? I don't know. But the onus is on him because he is on his last life.
Yeah, I really do think that build out of HeRoMaRinE, the way he, you know, I think he intentionally mined out one of the mineral patches so you can go from an angle that MaxPax may not expect. It's actually a really quick reinforcement path out to the natural compared to going through a map of Dynasty that is generally a very long rush distance. But you're also fighting into a Protoss player that has a gold, so their economy goes up a little bit faster, and they're able to maybe make their defense just a little bit more. Regardless of everything else, I thought the idea was cool. Unfortunately, as you said, MaxPax just made it did not look very good. We move to Amphion, though, for maybe the last game in this series. It's another fun map. Let's see what happens.
In the bottom left for Psystorm, he is the Red Protoss, MaxPax.
And in the upper left, in the blue, down, life on the line of the upper bracket, but who knows? He's got another shot. Even still, wants to send us to game number 5. For Mouse, it's HeRoMaRinE.
Such a great defense from the get-go. The build-up to the defense of the final push, but I would say most importantly, the execution of the defense of the final push. Again, really paying attention to where the tanks are firing, getting different angles set up, letting the zealots do their thing as long as they can do their thing. Always being mindful of where the shield battery is to pull back to it. And just really quite beautiful engagements. You don't have a lot of time in StarCraft 2 engagements to really shine with a critical thought process. A lot of times it's just like, okay, go! So you got so much stuff to do. But sometimes the way that MaxPax takes these engagements, you can actually just see that it's almost like slow motion. It's like he's the Flash, and he's actually just constantly going fast. So what he sees is in slow motion. I feel like you really get to see the micro choices and the way that a better Protoss player can take engagements other than just, okay, I built up a big enough army, let's go collapse in on the guy and hope that it works. MaxPax is just especially good at it, it feels like. But again, he was also, I think, especially well set up against the plan from HeRoMaRinE. Really got the feeling he had a good idea that it was on the way. You know, even though we didn't technically scout how many barracks there were, that there wasn't a third CC, it really seemed like he was already on to HeRoMaRinE, despite HeRoMaRinE's kind of push out to maybe obscure the strategy. So HeRoMaRinE's going to have to try and get something done that's a little more surprising, first of all. Something that actually does something. The Hellions didn't do anything. The follow-ups didn't do anything. Or try and play a greedy game and hope that a standard game works out like he tried to do in game number 1. I do think there is some hope for that game number 1 for HeRoMaRinE. So I wouldn't mind seeing something like that again. And okay, that's actually exactly what he's going to do. Nice, called it. Oh wait, no, that's a high ground CC. Darn it. Yeah. Never mind.
I did the
He's
same
doing
thing
what we did last game.
Like,
yeah,
yes, great. No, it's not greedy.
Darn it. I was too excited to be right. But no, so it's not going to be a fast third CC, so it's not going to be the same thing as game 1. But then is it going to be a 5 racks 2 base attack?
Well, unfortunately, you can't jump over the gateway yet. There are angles if you put the KD8 charge just right where you can jump over the thin gap and make it happen. I do like what we're seeing from MaxPax here in this 4th game. You talk about what is he gonna do, right? What's HeRoMaRinE gonna do? Blink is really bad on this map. Not in terms of just you want Blink eventually, but early Blink aggression. We talked about how how Dynasty doesn't really have a good Blink spot. It's even worse here. You got to blink over the mineral wall and then make a second blink into the main base. It just really is not accessible. So I like MaxPax going. And also, it's really easy for the Terran to drop. Effectively, the left side of the map is not quite an island, but you do have to mind some things out to make it not an island. So it is pretty inaccessible. You move across, drops can be really solid. So MaxPax, I like how he's playing to the map. He's kind of done that in the last couple games where it'd be very tempting. You know, there was a time last year when MaxPax was 4-gate blinking every single map, and that's all you're going to see, and he's probably going to win with it. But that's all you're going to see. He's playing a lot more to the map here, and I really do like that kind of evolution in how he has chosen to play.
Pretty nice scouting from the Adepts right now. Phoenix coming out, to stop what could be a very obvious trop play. Didn't actually scout the medevac, didn't actually find it, so that's kind of unfortunate. The things were so close to it, but the scouting was really nice because the scout saw the significantly later command center on location, but then also that it wasn't even orbital before it got sent over. So I think he was expecting a rather fast drop. The Phoenix thought about the main base being the point of contention. That's actually the natural. They're there fast enough that it doesn't really matter. And now we have HeRoMaRinE's opener once again not doing a whole lot. More Cyclones are on the way. Perhaps he surprises MaxPax with continued aggression on the front line, especially if the shield battery gets canceled. But it is actually going to complete. That is a high ground for him, and so I don't believe much more will come from this. So now MaxPax's turn to also get back on the map with the Phoenix and see if there is more to come from here. And he does see more rallying, so he knows what's up.
Yeah, this is very much a patented anti-Stargate push coming out of HeRoMaRinE. You get Cyclones, you get Vikings, you build Marines, you rally them across, and you try to make something happen. The problem is, first of all, there's a high ground ramp that's very, very hard for the Terran player to get through. And on top of that, the first hit didn't really work. The Widow Mine goes down very quickly, so you don't have that one for the next fight. There's a shield battery on the high ground, as you said. So even as maybe an Adept will fall, sure. Phoenix rallying also, but also going back home. But this army from HeRoMaRinE that he's making that is designed to break down this build out of MaxPax, with this ramp right here and overcharged as it is, it feels... This almost... We're going to have to see what happens, but it almost feels like it's stalling out before it even really gets started.
It is troublesome to get up that ramp, especially when the shield battery is up in a very offensive position, if you will, very forward position. There you go. You know, if it's kind of habitually placed next to the Nexus or something, maybe there's a little more wiggle room, but not to be the case here. Second shield battery, Immortal gets pumped out. He's not taking any chances. MaxPax is handling this as one should, which is to take it seriously, I would say. You know, it doesn't... I'm making it sound easy, like other Protoss are just silly for not taking it seriously. Of course, there's the same problem for every race as there is for Zerg, which is that you want to maximize economy before preparing for defenses. And that can be a Protoss conundrum. But MaxPax has also been really good about scouting. His Phoenix are going over to get harassment and scouting done at the, while still being able to help defend appropriately, which can also be a conundrum for the Protoss. Their Phoenix are in the right place at the right time. And it's really beautiful, like, play, dissecting and realizing what the type of game it is going to be like. Really fast Matrix might have been a surprise, taking that Amorta out of the equation, but apparently that doesn't matter. Every unit from HeRoMaRinE getting picked up by the Phoenix. This is going to be game. MaxPax, just masterful in this matchup. HeRoMaRinE tried his best. He tried a bunch of different things, but MaxPax seemed to be on top of it. Well, 9 times out of 10, he did lose one game, but he will win the series.
Yeah, MaxPax or Zombie Grub, I was looking at that last fight before it happened. I'm like, I'm not trying to be a Protoss Doomer or a Terran Doomer here, but this just looks pointless.